It is October 27, 1904. Outside City Hall Park, the air is thick with the electricity of 150,000 New Yorkers. They are packed shoulder to shoulder, standing on benches and clinging to railings. They haven't gathered for a protest or a parade. They are there to witness the birth of a subterranean empire. The first New York City subway is opening, and it is a 28-station miracle that promises to shrink the island. At the center of the chaos is Mayor George B. McClellan. He is handed a silver, ebony-handled controller, an instrument of pure power. According to the plan, McClellan is supposed to drive the train just a few blocks before handing it over to a professional motorman. But when the mayor feels the surge of the electric third rail, something happens. He becomes intoxicated by the speed. When the professional tries to take the controls, the mayor shouts, "No sir, I'm running this train." He doesn't stop for blocks. He drives the silver-handled beast all the way to 103rd Street in Harlem, completing the journey in just 26 minutes flat. But the real wonder that day wasn't the speed, it was the station itself. Beneath the feet of the crowd lay a Romanesque cathedral of the underground. It featured soaring Guastavino tile arches, intricate brass chandeliers, and leaded glass skylights that filtered the afternoon sun into the depths of the earth. Today, that station is a ghost. It is a perfectly preserved time capsule that transit enthusiasts can only glimpse by staying on the 6 train. As it makes its turnaround loop, why does New York hide its most beautiful spaces? Why is the crown jewel of the subway kept in the dark? Welcome to episode 3 of the Vertical Kingdom. New York is a city of glitches. Today, we are exploring the secret city, the parts of the metropolis that were never meant to survive the grid, or that exist only out of pure, unadulterated defiance. If episode 2 was about the iron thread, the systems of water, law, and steel that turned New York into a machine, then episode 3 is about the architecture of the soul. The grid of 1811 was designed to be a robotic leveler of history. It was meant to flatten the hills and fill the swamps until the island was nothing but a spreadsheet for real estate developers. But New York is not a spreadsheet. It is a living, breathing palimpsest, a place where every generation writes over the last, leaving traces of the old world in the glitches of the new. Today, we go beyond the numbered streets. We are finding a storybook village of 27 Tudor cottages tucked between Upper West Side skyscrapers. We are exploring an acoustic miracle in Grand Central that has carried marriage proposals and spy messages for a century. And we will stand on the Triangle of Spite, the smallest piece of private property in the city, held by a family for decades as a middle finger to the power of eminent domain. This is the secret city. Let's head underground. Part I, the ghost in the machine. Old City Hall Station. We begin in the dark. Below City Hall, the old City Hall Station remains the undisputed masterpiece of the original Earth Line. When construction began on March 24, 1900, the city didn't just want a tunnel, they wanted a monument to civic pride. To achieve this, they hired the architectural firm Hines and Lafarge, the same minds behind the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. They collaborated with Rafael Guastavino, a Spanish immigrant who brought a revolutionary vaulting technique to America. Guastavino's method, which he patented in 1892, used interlocking terracotta tiles and quick-drying mortar to create self-supporting arches that were fireproof, lightweight, and incredibly strong. The station was a beaux arts dream. Sunlight poured through 12 amethyst glass skylights, bouncing off the green and tan glazed tiles. 12 brass chandeliers provided an amber glow, while bronze plaques designed by Gutzon Borglum honored the engineers who built the tunnel. But the station's very elegance became its undoing. The track was built in a balloon loop, a tight, sharp curve designed for the small, 5-car trains of 1904. They created a nightmare. The gap between the center door of the train and the platform was over 2 feet wide, a death trap for passengers. As the city grew, New York needed longer, 10-car trains to handle the crowds. When the new, longer cars tried to navigate the curve at City Hall, re-engineering the platform would have been prohibitively expensive. On December 31, 1945, The cathedral of the subway was closed to the public. It remains a haunting reminder that in New York, speed usually beats splendor. But the station wasn't destroyed. Because it is located on an active turnaround loop, it was never demolished. It sits there, silent and shimmering, a ghost of the city that might have been. If the subway represents the city's hidden splendor, then Pomander Walk represents its hidden whimsy. In the heart of the Upper West Side, between 94th and 95th Streets, lies a place that shouldn't exist. Imagine walking past a standard black iron gate and finding yourself in a row of 27 Tudor cottages. They have half-timbered walls, flower boxes filled with cherry blossoms, and red and green shutters. It looks like a 19th century English village near London, transported to Manhattan by magic. The story of Pomander Walk is a prototypically American tale of a real estate glitch. In 1921, a nightclub impresario named Thomas Healy bought the land. Healy was an Irish immigrant who rose from a penniless newcomer to a multimillionaire. Though he was often a target of the law, one of the first New Yorkers indicted under the Prohibition laws, Healy's plan was to build a 16-story luxury hotel on the site. But while he waited for financing and approvals, he needed cash flow to pay the property taxes. He hired the firm King & Campbell to build a temporary set piece, a taxpayer colony of small houses inspired by a 1910 Broadway play called Pomander Walk. The play, written by Lewis N. Parker, was a comedy of happiness, set in a retired crescent of houses near Chiswick, West London. Healy's houses were meant to be demolished within years, but Healy died unexpectedly in 1927. And the Great Depression hit shortly after. The fairy tale got away with it, because the cottages were built of fragile materials compared to the stone skyscrapers around them. They felt protected, like an enclave within a heavier skin. Over the decades, residents like Humphrey Bogart, Rosalind Russell, and Lillian Gish found a gated sanctuary here, where the roar of the city faded into birdsong. In 1982, the tenants banded together to secure a landmark designation, ensuring that this temporary stage set would stay forever. Not all glitches are beautiful. Some are born of pure, distilled spite. If you walk to the corner of 7th Avenue and Christopher Street in Greenwich Village, right outside the Vintage Village Cigars shop, you might step on a small yellow and black mosaic in the sidewalk. It reads, "Property of the Hess estate which has never been dedicated for public purposes. This is the Hess Triangle, and it is the smallest piece of private property in New York City, exactly 500 square inches. The story began in 1910. The city decided to widen 7th Avenue to accommodate the Newark subway line. To do this, they used eminent domain to condemn and demolish about 253 buildings, ruthlessly cutting the heart out of old Greenwich Village. One of those buildings was the Voorhis, a 5-story apartment building owned by David Hess. The Hess family fought the city in court for years, but they lost. By 1913, their building was rubble. But then, the heirs of David Hess noticed something the city surveyors had missed. When the city mapped the property lines for the new avenue, they missed a tiny, isosceles triangle of land at the very corner of the plot, a patch of concrete about the size of a generously sized pizza slice. On July 27, 1922, they installed the mosaic as a permanent act of defiance. In 1938, the property was sold to the cigar store for $100. When the city realized their error, they asked the family to donate the tiny plot to the public sidewalk. The family, still fuming over the loss of their building, gave a resounding no. It still stands today, a 500 square inch sovereign nation in the middle of a New York sidewalk. It is a reminder that while the grid is powerful, it isn't perfect. The secret city isn't just about what you can see, it's about what you can hear. Head to the lower level of Grand Central Terminal, right outside the famous Oyster Bar. There, you will find 4 arched entryways in a square formation, sheathed in the same Guastavino tile used at the old City Hall station. This is the Whispering Gallery. If you and a friend stand at opposite corners of the 50-foot space and whisper into the tile wall, Your voice will telegraph perfectly over the curve of the ceiling. But Grand Central hides darker secrets. 10 stories beneath the platforms lies M42, a sub-basement so secret it was not listed on any official blueprints or maps until 1980. This room houses the massive rotary converters that power the electrified New York Central Railroad. During World War II, this location was so vital that spies were sent on U-boats to Long Island. Their mission? Dump sand into the converters to cause a short circuit, crippling 80% of troop movements. Luckily, they were caught. And then there is Track 61. For decades, urban legends claimed that a secret train car under the Waldorf Astoria was used to transport President Fedr. Visit Greenacre Park in Midtown. This vest pocket park contains a 25-foot waterfall. The roar of the water masks the traffic noise, creating pure silence. Or visit the New York Earth Room in Soho. Inside a second-floor loft worth millions of dollars, you will find 280,000 pounds of soil. A quiet sanctuary reminding us that silence is valuable. New York's secrets aren't just architectural, they are human. The grid couldn't conquer the soul of the city. We have seen the secret city. Thanks for exploring with us. Stay tuned for the next episode.